The Runaway Bride is more indicative of a Davies era Christmas special than the Christmas Invasion ever was. The Christmas Invasion came with so much narrative baggage to unpack, it was even split over into Born Again, that was aired as part of Children in Need. While The Runaway Bride does have to deal with some of the fallout from Billy Piper's departure in Doomsday, it's more of a standalone piece of Doctor Who. That is not, however, necessarily too much of a bad thing. It's a very light piece of television, but that's really the ideal Doctor Who to air as part of BBC's Christmas lineup. The Runaway Bride moves with tremendous speed and is built around a variety of set pieces and action sequences. There's a wonderfully nonsensical but visually impressive chase sequence with a TARDIS and taxi, another attack by a bunch of Christmas decorations, a giant spider, an exploding underground lair, and even some tanks. It's not an episode that pushes audience expectations of Doctor Who or redefines the show in any way. It's just a bit of fun, really. Instead, it's really about trying to do a lot of what Doctor Who takes for granted in a rather bombastic blockbuster style way. Which kind of makes sense if you think about it. The Runaway Bride is an episode to watch after Christmas dinner. The kids are probably coming down from their sugar high. The adults are probably partaking in a merrymaking. Most people will be full of turkey and dessert. The Runaway Bride isn't designed to blow anyone's mind or to make anything particularly hard, necessarily. It's intended to be an enjoyable slice of Christmas dessert. It's remarkable how hard The Runaway Bride works to really establish a lot of the dynamics that Davies has been working hard into the show over the past two series. Not only does the Doctor explain the basis of the show's narrative rules to Donna over the course of the episode, helping to keep people at home watching up to speed, but Davies also hints at a lot of the key themes quite heavily and repeatedly. You could watch The Runaway Bride and come away with it with a pretty accurate idea of how the Davies era works, just with any hint of subtlety thrown out the window, and everything turned out to 11. This isn't an episode that really works in the grander context of Doctor Who, and it's just retreading a lot of familiar thematic ground in a rather blunt manner, really. Anyone who's watched all 27 episodes previously of Doctor Who leading up to this point won't find anything particularly novel here. They already know a lot of what Davies is going to say with The Runaway Bride, but it's not particularly for that audience. In particular, it's worth noting that the next episode to air, Smith and Jones, is a much leaner and efficient and understated exploration of a lot of the ideas broached here. Then again, Smith and Jones wasn't designed as something for the extended family to watch after a gigantic dinner. It's more for the Doctor Who fan specifically. The Runaway Bride is a pretty efficient delivery system of everything you need to know about the modern version of Doctor Who, aimed at the relatives who wouldn't normally sit down on a Saturday night to watch the show. Davies pretty much prints gigantic bullet points for the folks watching at home. So we get lots of speeches about how people are important in this. In particular, this being the Davies era, there's a particular emphasis on working class people. Donna is not presented as an exceptionally smart or cultured individual. She's loud and obnoxious, and quite stupid. It would be easy to turn her into a figure of parody, and Davies comes close a couple of times. Especially when the Doctor asks how she's missed the events of the Christmas invasion, she replies, "I had a bit of a hangover," which is kind of funny, but just proves the point. Donna is, quite pointedly, not the kind of person who would watch Doctor Who. The show points this out by having Donna humorously miss out on the big events of the past couple of years. Of course, she doesn't know about the invasion of the Cybermen, she doesn't watch Doctor Who. The nerdy continuity stuff is really anything she's interested in, so why should she care about it? Why shouldn't the Doctor have to explain the rules to her? And here Davies seems to have a bit of a go at the more snobbish elements of Doctor Who fandom, the kind of people who treat anyone who watches I'm a Celebrity with disdain, or look down on those who don't share their interests. Davies really doesn't like those snooty and exclusive elements of fandom, devoting entire episodes, like Dalek and Love and Monsters, to exploring how that kind of possessive attitude is ultimately toxic. It's worth pointing out that these were exactly the kind of people who would have reacted quite aggressively to the casting of Catherine Tate. Late in the episode, Lance tears into Donna viciously, attacking her as unrefined and tasteless. It's a decidedly snobbish criticism of Donna. And then I was stuck with a woman who thinks a height of excitement is a new flavour Pringle, he moans. I would have to sit there and listen to all that yap, yap, yap. Oh, Brad and Angelina, is Posh pregnant? X Factor, Atkins diet, Feng Shui, split ends, text me, text me, text me. Dear God, the never-ending fountain of fat, stupid trivia. I deserve a medal. Which is just RTD at its best right there. The whole point of The Runaway Bride is that Donna's taste doesn't actually make her a bad person, and it's rather a blunt way of reiterating Davies' fascination with decidedly working and middle-class characters. As the Doctor points out here, Rose came from the powerless state. Davies' Doctor Who is absolutely fascinated with the people who live these sort of lives in council estates and flats, watching reality television and interested in celebrity gossip. This is technically one of the more controversial aspects of the Davies tenure, and he is frequently accused of dumbling the show down or pandering of sorts. There is a line of argument here that his stunt casting for The Runaway Bride and the later Christmas special Voyage of the Dan was a cynical attempt to appeal to the kind of people who watch reality television or buy celeb gossip mags. There's a hint of elitism to those sort of complaints, as if fans are somehow put out having to share their show. Anyway, it's exactly what Davies attempted with the Christmas specials. Kylie Minogue and Catherine Tate were both very clear efforts at stunt casting. Of course, it turned out that Tate was actually a phenomenal dramatic actress, so it worked out even better. However, there's nothing wrong with trying to appeal to a broader audience. The entire success of the revival has been built off appealing to a wider audience. And there's a reason that Davies has been so worried of snobbish elitists who try to take something wonderful and lock it up so they can only enjoy it themselves. Donna deserves a chance to see the magic of the universe as well, after all. And so the Runaway Bride hammers home that Davies' era of fascination with ordinary people with all the subtlety of a sledgehammer. As the Doctor takes Donna back to witness the birth of planet Earth, she struggles with the enormity of it all. Puts the wedding in perspective, she states. Lance was right, we're just tiny. The Doctor ladles on this Sacrican, who in his reply, no, but that's what you do, the human race, make sense out of chaos. Marking it with weddings and Christmas and calendars. The whole process is beautiful, but only if it's being observed. Despite all the criticism that the plot and Lance, and even the Doctor, make of Donna and her ability to shut up, the Runaway Bride is very sympathetic towards her. She might be distinctly middle class, but, as her surname implies, she is a decidedly noble character. She has a wonderful sense of empathy, an empathy lacking in even the Doctor. While she's upset at how her wedding day has been ruined during the attack on her wedding reception, her primary concern is for the people at the party. As the Doctor tries to figure out the reasoning behind the attack and to trace it back to its roots, Donna is more interested in saving lives than helping people. Just help them, she instructs. When the Doctor gets caught up in the bigger picture, she remains focused on the important stuff. Never mind all that, you're a doctor, people have been hurt. Which is to say that Donna really is the perfect companion of the Davies era for me, and it started right here in this episode. The Runaway Bride doesn't just reiterate Davies' attitude towards normal people, it also stresses the importance of the companion. The Doctor has recently lost Rose, it's a pretty big deal. This isn't the classic show where the Doctor instantly forgets his travelling companion and recruits a suitably replacement, rather quickly. The Doctor is shocked up, upset by the loss of his Rose. While the 10th Doctor and Davies himself could be far too fixated on the importance of Rose, it makes perfect sense that Rose should cast a shadow over the Runaway Bride. At the same time, the Runaway Bride is clear that the Doctor needs a companion for the future. If the Christmas invasion defined the 10th Doctor as a man who simply didn't know when to stop, the Runaway Bride makes it clear that the companion's role is to tell him to stop, and that role is so important. It's such a great idea that Turn Left revisits the climax of the Runaway Bride, suggesting that things would have gone very differently had Donna not been there to pull the 10th Doctor back from the edge of abyss. It's quite ironic that, despite his buoyant personality, the 10th Doctor also seemed prone to outright depression and suicidal fantasies than his direct predecessor. It's also worth noting that Donna is the only companion who really stands up to the 10th Doctor through his tenure. Rose was hopelessly head over heels in love with him, to the point where he had to banish her to an alternative universe with a clone in order to get her off his back. Martha had crushed her and was willing to let the Doctor walk all over her. When the time came to stand up, she simply walked away. Which is a valid choice from her perspective, but not when the 10th Doctor needs a companion. On the other hand, Donna as a character is perfectly willing to call the Doctor out when he needs to be called out. Given that arrogance and hubris count among the 10th Doctor's defining character traits, this is a very endearing attribute for Donna. More than that, Donna exists as a person who isn't immediately impressed by Daleks or Cybermen or the weight of continuity. She isn't concerned with the world of Doctor Who, more the characters themselves. As such, Donna is perfectly positioned to be a check on the show's excesses. She's not caught up in the hype, and can thus stand out from the narrative. Her introductory sequence features her doing something the Doctor seems impossible. She manages to infiltrate the heart of the TARDIS, bypassing all the shielding and defences. She manages to cut right through the heart of Doctor Who as well. And of course, the Doctor improves her. Rather, he enables her. He brings qualities to the forefront that only were simmering in the background before. Even though they only had one adventure together, there's a sense that the Doctor has made quite an impact on Donna's life here. He has opened her eyes to some respect. So what will you do now, he asks. Not getting married for starters, she replies. And I'm not going to temp anymore. I don't know. Travel? See a bit more of planet Earth? Walk in the dust. Just go out there and do something. In a way, he has turned Donna into more of a pseudo-Doctor. This makes the climax of the fourth season all that more heartbreaking. Had Donna never met the Doctor again, she would have had a happy ending. However, stumbling across the Doctor for a second time allowed her to ascend even further, become the more convincing of pseudo-Doctors. However, there is a limit to how far the companion can ascend, as Davies asserted back in the Christmas invasion. It's worth noting just how wonderful Catherine Tate is in the role here. Tate was obviously hired because Catherine Tate in Doctor Who was a demographic crossover that RTD could never refuse. However, Tate proves herself in a formidable dramatic actress. Davies doesn't just let Catherine Tate loose in Doctor Who, he gives the character some nice dramatic beats and development. Tate runs into these aspects of the character and turns Donna into something far more interesting than just Catherine Tate in Doctor Who might suggest. Tate works beautifully with Tennant, and this is furthermore shown in Series 4. Their acting styles play well off each other, and Tate is perfectly willing to fight for a corner of the screen against Tennant's explosive screen presence. For the first time since arguably Lila Wall and Tom Baker shared the TARDIS, Doctor Who feels like a partnership of equals. Well, as equal as it can be when the show is branded for one character and not the other. It helps that Tate can deliver lines like "Santa's a robot" in a beautifully endearing manner. Overall, The Runaway Bride is not the most ambitious of episodes. Indeed, it feels more like a catch-up hour than anything too exciting or dynamic on its own terms. Nevertheless, it serves as a surprisingly efficient encapsulation of the Davies era, playing out the entire relationship between the Doctor and his companion in the space of a single hour. It recognises this is a normal Doctor Who episode, and perfectly encapsulates the usual performance to suit more of a Yuletide audience, and man does it work. Saying that, it doesn't strive too far away from Doctor Who like some of the following Xmas episodes do. It strikes the perfect balance between watchability and enjoyability for the returning viewer also. It also introduces one of the strongest characters in the history of the franchise, and to this very day is my favourite Christmas special, and indeed introduces my favourite companion of the new series. I give The Runaway Bride a 9 out of 10.
I have wandered, I have rambled, I have crossed this crowded sphere, and I've seen a mess of problems that I long to disappear.